Okay, we are live. All right, welcome everybody.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. So, welcome to part 2 of building authority in your market. So, hope you guys enjoyed last week. Today, we're going to kind of expand on that, and we're going to start off on talking about becoming a published author. And this, it's done. I became a published author. Here's my book. It's, my top secrets for selling your home faster. Very easy to do, a lot less than what some of you may think. But I will tell you, when I walk in and I go on a listing presentation or preview a for sale by owner or even a buyer lead, and I hand them this book, instantaneous authority. And everyone that I go on, and if I'm competing with somebody and I bring in a book that says Amazon bestseller, it instant authority, and I win every appointment every time. So all 4 of us have books out there, and we just want to talk to you guys about how you can get a book, write a book, and in different niches, or just an overall general book. And it really doesn't matter. Mine's focused on selling, but I went on a couple buyer appointments the other day and just brought them this and just said, hey, I know this doesn't really help you and what, this is focused on selling, but eventually we're going to sell your house. And literally, meeting on the second meeting, they were still carrying the book, and I could tell that they had, read through it. So it just builds that authority, to become a published author. So I know Sheila, James, you both have done this a lot longer than I have. I just did this within the last year, and it's been phenomenal. So, you guys kind of tell me what experience you have, and then we'll get into the process and where people can find and do and get this done fairly rapidly and fairly inexpensively. So.
Sure. I think it comes down to whether or not you want to write the book yourself, or whether you want to have a ghostwriter write the book. Because a lot of people don't realize that most people today, very few people write their own books. Most people hire ghostwriters, and what they do is they interview you, a series of interviews where you give them the framework for the book. Or James and I have been working on a book together where we share a Google Drive with the lady, and then we type our parts out, and then basically she can take it and reword everything for you and make it sound good. It just depends on what your comfort level is. It also depends on what your budget is as far as being able to do it, because it's not terribly expensive to hire someone. It's around $1,500 to $3,000 depending on who you get. And there are many people, honestly, that do this around the country.
Yep. And it's not hard to do that in relatively short time frame. It could be done in 4 to 6 weeks, doing it that way. If you're committed to it, you need to be able to have roughly $6,000 to go from concept to creation.
Right.
And that's writing it yourself with a ghostwriter, correct? Or
correct. And then having copies of it after it's actually published and being able to give them out.
And there are also companies out there that have books written already, that authors have written books, and that you can participate in a book with someone else, and they can publish it under your name because it's their material. So it's done a little bit differently, but it's still the same concept where you're getting, and you can Google, most real estate conferences now, a lot of the real estate conferences have people like this at their conferences selling these things to people. And I think the key, like Matt's talking about, and like what the topic is that we're talking about, is it's about authority. It's about you being able to. So the other thing to think about, everybody, is what if you don't have the money to do the book yourself? You can self-publish. I have written 7 other books that I have self-published through Amazon. and you can do it that way as well. You can also think about not just an actual book, but you can think about magazines. Have you ever been featured? I think all of us have been featured in a top
agent
magazine, or number one in Texas, or number one, featured agent. So we've all been featured in stuff like that as well. So until you get the book idea up and off the ground, that's the other thing you can do, is take a magazine with you, because it really comes down to the topic of how do you set yourself apart? How do you immediately set authority and
build credibility?
And credibility, exactly.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a local magazine that has a top featured agent, guys, you can create one. I mean, all you need is one piece of material. It's not like you have to create a whole thing. You could, or even create a magazine type brochure. I know, Sheila, you just had a bunch of brochures made up.
There's a company that sells that service.
Right. So,
just like the books.
Yeah. So it's creating a document that is all about you, that's about your why, that's about your
Process.
Your process, and why would people want to work with you? Who are you? Who are they hiring, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but your printed elevator speech.
So yeah, I just, we want to put this out there that this can happen. Mine cost me, it was a lot less than that. It was a pre-written where I go in and write a couple chapters and the rest is pre-written, right? So I go through and read through it and approved everything, and then wrote a little more. So I am part of the book and an author of the book, right? But mine was less than $1,000. And then to get copies, I think it's $5 to $6.
Yeah, it's $5 a
right.
copy, I believe. Yeah,
$5 a copy.
So the buy-in's relatively low. Over time, you're going to pay more money if you're actually using these to list and sell and get. You should be giving out at minimum 10 of these a month. Don't buy a book to hold on to it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and at $5 a pop, man, I've spent more on that on postage on lead generation. Right.
So, and don't get in the concept of trying to sell them. Right.
Oh,
I've seen a lot of agents that'll write a book and then they go out and they try to sell it, to make money off of it. Just give them away. Just give them out. When I meet someone, this is my business card a lot of times, right? Literally. So whenever I go on a listing presentation, the very first thing I do when I shake their hand is I hand them this book and I say, hey, it's great to meet you. I got some information here for you. Feel free to look at it. And as I'm walking through the house, they're literally doing this right here going, oh, okay. And I can tell that they're buying in at that point. Right? I
don't even take my business cards. I tell them I forgot my business card, so I'll just give you my book, and I have my phone number
on the book.
That's good.
So,
I like that.
So here, get a hold of me this way. Sorry, I'm out of business cards, but I have books.
The other thing I think that you want to do is you want to autograph it to them in front of them. You want to open up the cover. You say, I want to go ahead and autograph your book.
I like that. Again, guys, we're going back to we're already.
I take a silver Sharpie and I autograph it, and it's like they're like, wow, the author signed my book right in front of me.
We're already known as kind of local celebrities, just being in real estate. I don't care if you're brand new in real estate or whatever. You're kind of elevated a little bit, and hey, that sounds like I mean, how many people have you talked to over your career said, oh, I've thought about getting into real estate, right? But no one ever, a lot of people don't take that step because, they look, they see the HGTV, they see all this and go, oh, wow, that just looks like fun, right? So take advantage of that and sell that persona. So, guys, go out there, search out. A book is huge. The other thing that we wanted to get in today and talk about on building authority, and I think this is a great way with social media, is building a community page. And we suggest you have a minimum of 3 community pages on Facebook. So what that is, you go in and just create a new page and hit community. Some examples would be, the area that you're in, your local city, if it's smaller, the town, or even just a subdivision, right? area, depending on how large it is, and create that sense of community, right? This is something that takes a little bit of work, but it doesn't have to be a lot of work. If you want to look at a great community page out there, I think it's Hot Homes of Katy. It is just awesome. That's K-A-T.
Massive community page, right? Massive.
Yeah, massive. Huge. Yeah. And they're just generating a ton of leads off of it, right?
Quality leads in it, right, in a great area. Yeah.
Yeah. So Hot Homes of Katy, which is in Katy, Texas, is a friend of ours, Johnny, that runs that, and he's done an amazing job with it. But you can do something like that and go to that one and like it. So put it where it's sending you stuff on a daily basis, and it'll give you content information, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be anything special. You can go into, and that's the key. You want to post 2 to 3 things a day on your community page. You don't want it flooded with real estate. You don't want to, be all real estate related. You have to make sure it's community related. But you can go into Yelp and just put in events for the week for your local area, and it'll give you a list of all these different events that are happening. Go in, if you're a Google user, you can set up a Google search for certain things that have to do. So any news that pops up, like I have it, anything that has to do with the Kansas City Chiefs, if it pops up on the news in Google, it automatically sends me an email with that news article, right? So I can just take that, post it in my community page. If you have, I can put, Kansas City news, and anything that pops up on Google, currently it will email me. So I always have content coming in that way.
Well, if I could chime in here, I had when I was living in Lake Norman, when I first got there, no one had a community page. So I created, because I did this in Ohio, and so I created a Lake Norman 365 things to do in Lake Norman page, right? And then after that ran for about a year, it kind of got old, so I changed the name up to Lake Norman Attractions and Events, right? People were making fun of me. They're like, why are you spending your time doing this? I was working at Keller Williams at the time. They said, why are you spending your time doing this, right? Because you need to be out selling houses rather than doing this. People were laughing at me, but I was building it and I was starting it, and literally it went from 20 people, at the very beginning. Now we've got over 7,000 people. It's a monster of its own. It's continuing to grow. I'm not even there. It's still doing it, right? And people are posting on it daily. People are sharing it, liking it, all that stuff. So then I came here when I moved back home, and I did one for Western North Carolina Attractions and Events. Nobody had done it. So now we're already up to like 2,000 people here, and I've only been here 6 months. So it really does work. But again, like Matt said, do not real estate puke on them. Okay. I mean, just don't do it. You've got to put, if there's a Bigfoot festival, I'm putting the Bigfoot festival. If there's a Mountain Glory Festival, I'm putting the Mountain Glory Festival. Right?
We don't have Bigfoot festivals here.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying we do. We got that's what this whole town's about, Bigfoot.
Right. So
that's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah, so make sure, here's the thing, again, it's becoming the authority, and you will become that authority. Make sure you use what we talked about last week on the Facebook Live, right? Make sure you're using that on your community page, because, you go out to a local restaurant that's in that community, do a Facebook Live. Hey, I just had an amazing meal at this local restaurant. Come here and bring the owner over real quick, or the manager, or even the waitress, and say, thank you so much for the great service. If anybody knows, Megan here, come down and see her, ask for her section, right? And then end it. Oh, by the way, I sell real estate here locally. Here's my name and number, right? And then sign off. And you're going to be the only real estate agent on that page. If you hit a lot of restaurants, that may be one that you want to start with. I know Kyle Whistle, he does East Side Eats or East Valley Eats or East County Eats or something out in San Diego. And that is the go-to website for anybody who's in that area who wants to know about restaurants, right?
Yeah, and it's a huge lead gen source for them. It's huge.
Oh, it gets more hits than, think about it. Think about all these restaurant shows that have popped up over the last 5-10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, they're everywhere. I don't watch TV much, but I was flicking through the channels the other night, and it
Kyle
was
has a
literally
lot
like
of
3 different
personality.
channels. There was some food crap, right? People love it. There's all these
People love the personalities. That's what it is, I think, ultimately. They get endeared with the way you review things. And Kyle, to his credit, I think interjects a lot of his personality into his reviews. And he's
right.
yeah, I mean, he's fun, like Anthony Bourdain in a sense. I mean, he's funny, he's ironic, he's got a lot of, so be yourself.
Yeah, keep it real. Don't try to put on, don't try to make it a show.
Yeah.
Like, just be real, because people love reality TV. The number
You're real. You're real. It's a real review.
shows out there are reality television shows.
Exactly.
So, and then we were also talking some other, so, you may have your local community. You could even do a church. You could do a school district. You may want to do a restaurant type page. And then we were also talking about riches and the niches, right? And we've said that a lot on our training. And so, James, you and your wife just started, one that you said you're killing it with. So to talk a little bit about that and what that entails.
Yeah. So, the 2 community pages that we do, one of which is Montco 411, which is that's a community page where we do, we go out to dinner and review things and talk about new businesses. And I interview business owners. The second page we do is it's Latinos in the county that we live in. So it's a Latino page, and it functions around Latino businesses, Latinos looking for work, Latino issues. And my wife is Spanish, and we just started this page in February, I think. And it's really, really good at growing and converting people to want to work with us in the real estate and our remodeling businesses. So, and it's a free lead source. I mean, it doesn't cost anything other than the time to create the content.
So think about that. Think about, guys, what one thing that either you have that's unique that somebody else doesn't, so there's not a whole lot of Spanish speaking, agents out there, right? There's probably not a huge, not a lot of people are jumping onto social media and creating these types of Latino pages, right? But it can be anything. I mean, I know, Sheila, we've talked about,
you live on a lake, could be about boating.
Right. Or Sheila, you focusing on, Christian business owners, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's a niche out there that, there's a ton of people out there, but there's nobody that's out there that's creating a community for that, right? And it could be anything. It can be, do you
What's
like
passionate about?
Yeah, what are you passionate about? Do you like sports cars? Doesn't mean you have to own a sports car, but do you like, if you love, Porsche 911, start a Porsche 911 Facebook group locally. Start making, meetups.
Having meetups,
right?
Exactly.
And you don't have to own one yet, but just tell everybody, hey, with this community page and growing this and with my real estate business, I will own one from doing all this.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be anything.
High school sports, another great one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and update it, right?
Posting all the scores and talking about this week's action.
Yeah, prime example. When I moved here, I opened up McDowell Titan alumni, and so it's anybody that is in the process of graduating or has graduated from McDowell. We talk about the Titans, which is our mascot. I'm at every single game. I'm posting the scores of the game. I'm keeping people updated, right? Just that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. So again, it's going out and you eventually you hit that. We want 3 because one's gonna take off more than the others in a lot of cases. And you want different content. Don't go post the same thing in all 3 of those.
Right.
Sometimes get lazy and like, oh well, here's a great article. I can put it in all 3. Don't do that. Now you can go live in all 3 of them. eventually, if you are showing a house that you're listing, right? Again, we're not going to EX puke on them or real estate puke on them, but you want to eventually throw some, about every 5 posts, you can post something about your real estate business, but you don't want to overwhelm them, right?
Yep.
You want them to know that now other things, you can have other businesses come in and interview other businesses in those communities, which is going to build, again, more authority. It's going to help them. Who are they going to promote when, if you go out and get a restaurant or a hardware store or mom and pop, clothing store, and you're pimping them out on your social media, who are they going to recommend when somebody asks them about real estate?
Yep. Part of your database becomes part of your database.
Exactly.
So,
and I would say also, I think we all learned from Johnny Fowler, one of the critical elements of having other business owners as friends commenting on your posts, checking in their businesses, things like that, how it boosts your ranking, and how, more people see your posts because of them liking it or commenting on it.
Right. If you don't know what an edge rank is, Google it, because you need to know, especially if you're going to get involved in this.
Yeah, well, I will tell you, I learned something that's just genius 2 weeks ago when we were at some training with Johnny, and I think this is amazing. I'll just throw it out here, is to become an authority. You get your group of let's say your board of directors, right? You kind of get 5, 6 other people in your industry or even outside your industry. So you get a title gal, a mortgage person, a home warranty person, home inspector, right? That all want to be part of your board of directors, and you're going to help them as well. So what you do is, let's say you get all 7 of those people. You set a time every 2 weeks, once a month, where you guys all meet at a coffee shop. Now, you all get there, you all bring your laptops, right? We've talked in the past about joining different groups, buy and sell trade groups. Maybe it is one of these community pages, and maybe one of your lenders has a community page as well. So here's what you do. You all 7 sit around and you go, okay, first we're going to talk up Matt, right? So you go in and one of them will put in there, they go into the chat line and type in, who's the best real estate agent in the North Kansas City area, right? And it's not coming from you. You're not in there. And then boom, all of a sudden, immediately, one of the other people go in there and put Matt Graham. I've used them before. I've worked with them for years. And then boom, another person feeds off of that and replies and said, oh yeah, definitely use Matt, right? And then, so you got 7 people all going in right there talking about how great an agent you are. So then you do that for a little bit, and then at the same time, you go into a separate group and you talk about the loan officer and type in who's the top loan officer in your area. Who would you use? This is in a different group, right? And then all 7 of you go in there and comment on that person, right? And you do that in all these different groups for all 7 people. Who's the best home inspector? Boom, and everybody does that. What it's going to do, yes, there are going to be other people that go in there and comment about maybe other top agents, but you're going to get the most traction because, 1, it's very quickly, and 2, all 7 of you are talking about that one person. And then maybe you chime in and go, oh, thanks for the support, guys. It's great to work with you also. Boom. So here's what's going to happen, though. You will bump up to the top every time. So a month from now, if somebody else goes in that group and says, who's the top real estate agent in the area, your name, Facebook is automatically going to tag you because you've already been considered one of the top, right? So again, another great way, it takes a little more coordination with what I call your board of directors, right? But it's a great way to build authority for you, for your lenders, for your title people, for everybody involved.
Yeah,
So,
it's a marketing syndicate is what it is, really.
Exactly.
When it boils down to it.
yeah. So I think that's something, anybody can do. The first thing you need to do, obviously, is get your syndicate or your board of directors together of people that like, and trust and want to work with. And I think,
that's critical. Yep, your go-to.
Mhm.
Because you know, I mean, who has more interest in seeing you be more successful than the people you're already giving business to?
Exactly. So
awesome.
All right.
Lots of great ideas. Guys. Go implement, right?
Yep.
Exactly. Take action
this week.
right?
Bye, you guys.
Everyone.
All right. Have a great one.